I'm Kirk Coleman, and you're watching The Cat Cave.
Whether you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Shannon Smith to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcasts as part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, where you can find shows like Embrace, Debate, and Inside the Vault, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, and also on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, where you can also watch Believe in Panthers with Desmond Johnson and Jonathan Stewart. I am Ryan Frick. Welcome back to the Cat Cave. A little more somber of a note this week for multiple reasons. Before we get into everything, let's go ahead and get it over to Shannon Smith, who is back here with us again. Shannon, what's going on, bud? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Let's talk about this game and let's break down this analysis here.
Yeah, listen, let's go ahead. Before we get into any Carolina Panthers news, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, made a contribution to help victims of Tropical Storm Helene. I'm not going to say it was after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers owner pledged $1 million to the city of Tampa. I'm not sure if the city of Tampa has been hit harder. I'm not sure if anybody, for that matter, has been hit harder than Western North Carolina. I've seen cities completely wiped off the map. We've seen towns in upstate of South Carolina, where I'm located, continue to go without power almost a week after the storm hit. I personally am very fortunate and very grateful that I received power a little over a day after I lost it. But it's still, Shannon, I'm not sure if you've seen anything, but it's been absolutely just devastating to see some of the images and hearing some of the stories over in Western North Carolina.
I have, man. I'm actually in the western part of North Carolina in Wilkes County here. I didn't lose power, which was surprising, lost internet, but I was working my other job as a volunteer firefighter. We were working from about 11:50 p.m. Thursday night to about maybe 9 p.m. Friday. It was stop and start. It wasn't like fully on, but there was a lot of electrical hazards, a lot of trees down. It's like every time you turn around, there was a tree falling. Some part of the county, we were all on standby, and it was a lot. But you're absolutely correct, Ron, because there are people still without power to this day. There are people like in Marion, North Carolina. Marion has been battered. Asheville got a lot of it. It's been tough for a lot of places. So, everyone that's been affected by this storm, I heard stories of Hurricane Hugo when I was small. Hugo hit in 89. I was 3 years old. And so I've heard about Hugo being rough. There were people saying that this was about as close as Hugo was. And that was very, very tough times for a lot of people. And, we're extremely blessed to be alive. There are people out there still, without power. Some people who have lost their lives. Some people who have not been able to talk to their families. So, hug your family tight, talk to your family, make sure, whatever it is, get rid of it, because there's a lot of stuff that could be a lot worse. And this was tough for a lot of people. It was.
Yeah, you mentioned Hurricane Hugo. I was 2 years old when Hurricane Hugo hit, and I actually lived in Charleston at the time. My mom actually spoke with me about it and said that she doesn't even remember Hugo being as bad as it was for Western. Because again, you think Western North Carolina is landlocked? Like they're not used to this kind of rainfall, and it resulted in mudslides. Like the city of Chimney Rock.
Yes,
that's the second 40 sleep that I've made today. So we're off to a good start. The city of Chimney Rock is completely wiped off the map. Like the downtown has no buildings. The road washed away. I saw videos of a Walmart, I believe, in Boone, North Carolina, that was underwater. I was told there's a Publix in Hendersonville that had 1.5 feet of standing water inside the store. You see videos where water was going up to the awning of buildings. I've got a guy that I went to high school with that until I believe yesterday, when we're recording this on the 2nd, which is Wednesday, as of October 1st, still had not gotten water or any sort of help from the National Guard or anything in his neighborhood. You see videos and pictures of images of just mud throughout the streets gone, buildings destroyed, businesses gone. And you mentioned that there's people have lost their lives in the storm, and I'm not sure what the death toll is now, but there are still hundreds of people that are unaccounted for right now. I saw somebody on TikTok, I believe, that asked people that are planning on vacationing in the state of North Carolina, doing beach vacations, especially mountain vacations, to please cancel those trips because the citizens of North Carolina are going to need those resources. And it's a shame, and it's a very unfortunate situation. If you can find a way to donate some money to the American Red Cross or anybody for that matter that can get those resources up to those people in North Carolina. And again, the upstate of South Carolina did not get hit as bad, but I've been in grocery stores this week where people still don't have power. They were told not to expect to get power until as early as this coming Friday. Some later. I'm fortunate. Lawrence Electric. Obviously, I'm here talking to you because I have power back. But Lawrence Electric, the company that I use for my power source, as of today, still had I think 41% of their customers still were without power. So it's a devastating storm, and there's potentially another one coming up in the Gulf. So thoughts and prayers out to everybody that was affected. And continued support from down here in the cat cave, whatever that means. I don't know how to transition that into saying that, other than saying that, like, listen, the Carolina Panthers played last weekend. They were host to a game because they were obviously a little farther east, so they didn't get affected as much. But let's get your minds off the hurricane. Let's talk about some football here as the Panthers fall once again to 1-3 on the season as they lose at home to the Cincinnati Bengals a week after they look pretty formidable against, albeit a really bad Raiders team. Shannon, I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch this game. Again, some of us were without power, some of us weren't. Did you get a chance to watch any of this game? And do you have any impressions after the Panthers lose their third game of the season?
I did. I actually watched it twice. I watched it. I don't know what Hulu did. I don't know if I'd done something, but Hulu automatically tapes the games for me. So
Nice.
Even if I watch it, it goes right to my stuff, and so I get to watch it over and over again. So I actually watched it Monday, a little bit, and then I watched it fully on Tuesday. So I was able to watch it all on Tuesday. I watched like half of it Monday, coming from work, and then Tuesday. And what I got from the game is, number one, Cincinnati got some breaks in this game. They didn't look like the Cincinnati that we're used to seeing. And that's not like a knock on that squad because they did win. But this isn't the Cincinnati that we would be used to seeing where Joe is doing what he usually does, with Chase and Higgins all doing what they do. There were some plays made by Joe that were very, very good. Like, he had some good plays, but there were some miscues on the defense that did it. It was a tale of two halves because that first half, Carolina was actually cooking in that first half. Cincinnati was as well too. But then that second half, Cincinnati got more rushing yards, which was what helped them out tremendously. The passing game had its bright spots, but the running game is what did it. They outran Carolina 112 yards to about maybe 25. No, about 35. They outran Carolina, which helped. And there were some miscues. We had the special teams, almost the first down on special teams where they faked the punt. You got to catch that ball. There were some drop passes out there. But for the most part, I would say the Bengals they squeaked. They scratched away. They got out of there in time. So that's what helps. When you play a bad first half, when you play a good first half but don't play a good second half, that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, they did catch some breaks, but I think the Panthers played a little undisciplined late in the second half too. You could see some mental errors by both sides, offense and defense. Let's talk about some stat lines here for a second. Andy Dalton had a respectable day. He did throw an interception, but he also threw for 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards. The offense has been more productive with Andy Dalton under center. There's I can't remember who posted it, but somebody online talked about, can we have a conversation now that the Andy Dalton experiment didn't work? I was like, what are you talking about? Andy Dalton, he's thrown for 500 yards in 2 games. I mean, we're without Adam Thielen, who's on the IR with a hamstring injury. And you look, Deontay Johnson had his second consecutive game where he had a touchdown. Xavier Legette, rookie out of South Carolina, he catches his first touchdown pass of his career in this game. And then Chuba Hubbard, again, when teams respect the pass game like they do the Panthers now with Andy Dalton under center, it opens up the run game, and Chuba Hubbard did it again, 18 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Now, I need to say something because for a long time, I have been a naysayer on one Miles Sanders. And I'll tell you in this game, Miles Sanders, it's like Miles Sanders has been listening to me. Because Miles Sanders looked like he fit the system because Miles Sanders was running angry.
He was.
I posted something. I don't know which account I posted it to. It might have been the Cat Cave on Twitter, but I posted it, or on X. I posted that I see you, Miles Sanders, and somebody said that he was running angry, and it's because he was. So I don't have, unless I could pull it up while we're doing the show here, I don't have his exact stats from that game, other than that I just know he didn't. I mean, obviously he didn't outgain Chuba Hubbard, but he did have six carries, 32 yards, 5.3 yards a carry when Hubbard averaged 5.8. So the running game is going. So we have something to build off of. The Bengals came into this game 0-3, and they desperately needed a win. And I think they wanted it more. There was one play that really hurt the Panthers in this game, and that was the long touchdown pass to Jamar Chase, where I believe it was Xavier Woods that tried to take a big shot on Jamar Chase, didn't wrap up. Chase bounced off, broke another tackle, and then used his speed to get it to the end zone. And that was sort of the back-breaking momentum changer that the Bengals needed. And that's sort of helped them break away. I mean, you look at the stat line for the Bengals, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't fantastic. You talked about outgaining us in the second half. Chase Brown had 80 yards, averaged 5.3 yards a carry. Zach Moss finished with 3.4 yards a carry with 51 yards. Joe Burrow only had 232 passing yards in this game. And without that long touchdown to Jamar Chase, it's sort of a pretty pedestrian stat line for a Bengals team searching to, as they always do, recover from a slow start. But they're able to get their first win of the season as the Panthers fall once again. Now, the big news coming out of this game, unfortunately for the Carolina Panthers, is once again, Shaq Thompson suffered another season-ending injury as he tore his Achilles during this contest. He had surgery on Wednesday and is now out for the season. Without looking up other injuries that he's had, I don't believe this is his first Achilles injury, but it is a countless lower body injuries that he has had to deal with in his career. I believe he lost most of last season due to injury. The unfortunate part about this injury is that with the loss of Brian Burns and Frankie Louvu, Shaq Thompson was coming back in to be the undisputed leader of this defense. And for the second straight year, he's done here in week 4. Shannon, what do you have to say about Shaq Thompson once again suffering yet another season-ending injury?
I looked at the play about 3 times, and it just looked like, a regular, like he just got his feet tangled up. It didn't look really, really serious, but when they showed where the cart was coming, they wasn't going to have him get up from the cart. Like, they weren't going to have him walk to it, but he ended up walking to the cart. And when they sat on there, I can just see the look on his face. He had a lot of pain going on. And you're absolutely correct. He only played 15 games. He was out 15 games last year. He only played 2 last year. And so he was supposed to be the leader of that team. This is a blow to the squad because he is one of the only tenured guys on that defense, and it's going to be different without him there. Now, another thing I was hearing on the telecast was that they're thinking that, once again, this is another injury to the lower part of his body. This is the second actual Achilles injury that he's had. So anytime those injuries start coming, anytime those injuries come back to back, this is where you got to look at it and say what's best for his health, what's best for his livelihood. And I don't want to say that, Shaq won't be back or he won't be playing because he busted his tail to get out there on the field this year. He did. But, it's a physical game. We got to get over injuries. It's a next man up mentality. And that's what the Panthers have to look at is next man up. I hate it because I know Shaq wanted to be out there. I hate it. But, we got to look at that mentality. The Panthers got to look at that mentality, and so does Shaq Thompson.
Yeah, I found on a website called draftsharks.com. And I don't know how accurate it is, but dating back to 2015, he had a hamstring injury during rookie minicamp. He missed 2 games with a grade 2 MCL sprain back in 2015. He had a pedal foot plantar fasciitis, grade 1 in 2017. He played through the pain in week 13 before missing the next 2 games. In 2018, he had a season. He missed the final 2 games of that season with a shoulder injury. 2019, he had a pedal ankle sprain grade 2. In 2019, he had a shoulder cleanup procedure. In 2021, he had a knee ACL sprain grade 2. And then last year, he suffered a broken fibula or a fractured fibula in week 2 versus the Saints. So last year, he played in basically a game, let's call it 2 games. And this year he's only played 4. Listen, I'm not the kind of guy who wants to write off people due to injury, right? Like we talked about it. San Francisco 49ers entire offense seems to be injury prone. You see what's happening to them. No Christian McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel returned last week. Ayuk hasn't been the same because he held out. George Kittle has been banged up. And at some point you have to kind of walk away from some of these guys. I don't know if it's time to walk away from Shaq Thompson just yet. He's a great leader and he's a heck of a football player. But a guy that seemingly hurt every other year, now he's missed essentially two seasons. To your point, like you got to think about his livelihood. Like if next year he comes out the gate and he gets hurt in the first quarter of the season, maybe it's time. It's a good thing for the Carolina Panthers defense that the secondary seems to be stepping up. J.C. Horn, despite getting beat early in the season, he seems to be playing better. Xavier Woods had an interception in this game, despite missing that tackle on Jamar Chase in route of Chase's touchdown catch. But the defense is stepping up. I mean, the interception that that Joe Burrow threw, he was getting pressured by an offseason signing in Jadeveon Clowney.
Yep.
They weren't able to get sacks in this game, but they had a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow, and it forced some bad passes in this game, including the interception. So the defense, listen, Shaq Thompson's absence will be felt by the Carolina Panthers defense. But like you said, it's next man up. Maybe they can find a trade partner for someone to get some help in the linebacking core. I mean, listen, they're in better shape than they were in week 2 when unfortunately Bryce Young was running this offense and the defense didn't look great because the offense couldn't stay on the field. So,
and it's coming from the work that this offense is doing. You can tell that the defense is getting more opportunities. Mike Jackson with the interception, he's done very well covering. Mike Jackson had T. Higgins most of the day, and there were pressures coming. That was one of the things that you were bringing out, is that they pressured Joe. There was one sack that they missed, and Joe got away from it and completed a pass. Yeah. But Joe did not have an easy day. Like, he did not have an easy day throwing the ball. There were times where they were getting guys to the ball. There was more intensity on the defense. There were more pass breakups. There was more awareness on the defense, and it worked really, really well. But the offense has been something that has really stepped up. Of course, whoever put that whole thing about the Andy Dalton experiment, they need to get off of social media, forget about it. Because you can't tell me that this offense has not had a surge since that's happened. The passing game has been big, but I want to pose this question to you right here, Ryan. With Andy Dalton being an unrestricted free agent next year, what do you do?
And that might be the toughest question you've ever asked me on this show.
I've been figuring it out myself. I've been trying to figure it out, man.
Listen, if you see what's going on with the Miami Dolphins, it pays to have a good backup quarterback, right?
Yes.
I think you probably see if Dalton will sign a 1-year deal, potentially two. I mean, I don't know how old Andy Dalton is at this point in his career. 37. I know he's in his 30s. 30. You said he's 37?
37 years old, man. He's 37.
No way he's 37.
No, I think it might be either 36 or 37. I think it's 36. I think he turns 37 in the offseason.
Yeah, and he's still got that bright red hair, no grays.
I know.
What a lucky dude, man.
It was good.
I think you lock him up for 2 years. I mean, understand that more than likely they're gonna try Bryce Young again at some point.
Yeah,
but lock him up as far as like you don't want to pay him as a starter, because look at all these guys that are getting money that aren't producing on the field. I'm looking at you, Dak Prescott. I'm looking at you, Tua Tagovailoa. Despite your injury, I understand that. Aaron Rodgers, I'm looking at you.
Jalen Hurts.
Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts. I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers because that bum couldn't beat the Broncos last week.
And you know, and that's the reason why I kind of feel like a hypocrite, because I've said, the Jets are foolish for trusting 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers on a bad leg. Now, with this being said here with the Panthers now, Andy Dalton is going to be 37. He's on the back end of his 30s. Let's just go ahead.
Yeah.
He's on the back end of his 30s. But look at what Joe Flacco is doing. And Joe Flacco's 39. And so, but he beat a team like, he beat a squad this past week, 39. Did well last year, with the Cleveland Browns.
And Flacco just led the Colts to a victory over the undefeated Pitt Steelers this week.
Yes. And so this is where we're at right here. So this is where we're at. It's any given Sunday. I really will say, I will beg to differ that this season right now, even though it's early, it's really been any given Sunday. It really has. There is last week when we had all the teams that were just seeming like they were just too strong. The Ravens were too strong and lost. And then
they come back and beat up on the Bills, who looked unbeatable.
Yes. And I mean, so you have teams that are doing that now. And it's like, man, you better come with your A game, because somebody's going to get you. And this is why I look at that. But in my opinion, I really think, you got to go for 1 or 2 years with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that even if they do draft another quarterback, if that does happen, or if they go with Bryce, he's going to be the starter. He's the guy they're looking at. And this is something they got to think about. But here's another thing. I ain't going to let y'all off the hook yet. Davante Adams. I know you've heard.
Stay away.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, man. Listen, it's hard enough getting this offense under some semblance of a structure, right? I actually had this conversation earlier today with a friend of mine, and we were talking about potential landing spots. Like at one point, the Cowboys were in, now they're out. Obviously, like if you gave me an option between the New York Jets and the field for Davante Adams, I'm taking the Jets. I've been taking ever since Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets.
Yes.
I knew that Davante Adams was going to find his way to the Jets. Now, in saying that, it wouldn't surprise me if he wound up with the New Orleans Saints to go back with Derek Carr, which is why he went to Vegas in the first place. Mm-hmm. There's been rumors about Kansas City needing to go after him. The Raiders are not going to trade a star wide receiver to a division rival with Patrick Mahomes.
No,
unless they're pulling a Panthers Bears trade where they give up the farm just to get one guy, right? There was also a rumor about the Pittsburgh Steelers, which wouldn't be a bad deal considering they need another weapon on that offense to go along with George Pickens. I think a potential landing spot, you could see him with the Ravens.
Yeah.
The Ravens have Zay Flowers, but like imagine an offense with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Davante Adams. Like just seeing that on paper is just ridiculous. I don't think it'd hurt if he got traded to the Bills. Like I think Davante Adams is at a point in his career where I think he wants to get traded to a contender. Yes. Problem is, I don't know if a contender is going to want to take on his contract and is going to have enough draft capital to give up for Davante Adams. I mean, think about the San Francisco 49ers. They just had this issue where they couldn't sign or Ayuk. They couldn't find a trade partner. What if they make a deal to let Ayuk go to the Raiders and somehow get Davante Adams over to San Francisco? I think that opens the window for the Niners once again. With if Davante Adams is super healthy, like he's dealing with a hamstring injury, but is he really dealing with a hamstring injury?
No, he's not at all.
So, yeah, it's intriguing because of how good of a player Davante Adams is. But you talked about Andy Dalton being at the back end of his 30s. Davante Adams is sort of on the decline of his career as well. Now, it could be that he could turn out to be the Randy Moss with the Patriots and a resurgence if he gets on the right team, or he could be Randy Moss going to the Raiders in his career and watch him drop off again. So, having said all that, I don't think the Panthers need to go. They've already given up enough, and we're going to talk about it here in a second because they're still not going to have a second round pick in the Bryce Young trade in this year's draft. So it's not like the Raiders are supposedly asking for something along the lines of a second and a fifth. Guess what? The Panthers don't have a second round draft pick. And I don't think they want to get rid of anybody on this roster to go and get Davante Adams because they just went out and got Deontay Johnson, who's now producing with Andy Dalton. Xavier Legette finally showed up, with Andy Dalton. He's had his best 2 games as a pro. And I know he's only 4 games in, but both of his games that he was able to do something was with Andy Dalton at quarterback. Jonathan Mingo had himself a very quiet day, but he still got involved on the offense. So, although intriguing to make the splash to go out and get him. And I know when he was being courted for a contract, I think I saw somewhere where he had talked to the Panthers more than anyone else.
Yep, that's what I alluded to that because he said that. So
that was also probably after he got signed with the Raiders and all that stuff. It's probably a good thing because that was probably already after we decided to go out and sign Adam Thielen. And who are the other guys? DJ Chark and what can I say? The other former Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver that we had on the team that was fast, we couldn't stay healthy. But I think the Panthers offense, they don't need to try to add anything else until draft time comes, unless they're going to go out and get another offensive lineman. Because for all that we've talked about, the Panthers didn't give up a sack this week.
No,
that's the first time all season they've gone a game without a sack. So. I think they found the solution with Andy Dalton. Speaking of finding solutions and speaking of bad trades, the Carolina Panthers 1-3 get to go to Chicago to take on the team that they traded their entire future for in order to get a quarterback that is now sitting on the bench in Bryce Young. The Bears 2-2 after a win last week against the Los Angeles Rams. The only problem is that the Bears offense has not been playing all that well. I believe in that win, rookie Caleb Williams only had 157 passing yards. DeAndre Swift finally had a decent game as a Chicago Bear, 16 carries, 93 yards against the Rams. And really, they didn't play a whole lot of good defense. It was an interception that was basically the difference in this game, and a big run by DeAndre Swift late in this game. The Bears also beat a really bad Tennessee Titans team, also lost to AFC South teams, the Texans and the Colts. Chicago Bears are a 4-point favorite at home Sunday, 1:00 kickoff on Fox. Shannon, who you got? What are the keys of this game, and who do you have winning it?
Keys of this game is to get after Caleb Williams. As you can tell, it's a young quarterback here. This is his first year. I think he's getting the Bryce Young treatment right now, only with a better squad. He's got a capable runner in Swift.
Yeah.
He's got capable receivers. They put 3 good guys around him. So it's going to be interesting. Caleb has skill. Caleb's good. But, it's learning on the job. They threw him out there. It is what it is. But when you get called the next Mahomes, when you get called highly decorated, when you get considered as a prodigy coming out of the draft, something I kind of have a problem with. I don't know if it's the Bryce Young thing that made me have a problem with it, or if it's just the fact of it's a first-year guy and he's not played a professional football season and you're dubbing him as this. I don't know if that's the problem, but they got to get after Caleb. If you get to Caleb and you rattle him, then that's going to be your key to victory in this game. Now, 4-point favorite at home. I'm going to go on a limb and say that the Panthers are going to win this, but it's going to be ugly. I'm going to say they win it by 6.
Listen, I'll take it. Everything that you said about Caleb Williams is a lie. I'm kidding, but that's how I feel. I think Bears fans are watching what Justin Fields is doing over in Pittsburgh and thinking we could have just had Justin Fields. And also gotten who's the big guy that came out of last year's draft. Like, we could have had both of these guys. Like, what are we doing? I don't have faith in Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is ever going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be. I don't think he's going to be the bust that Bryce Young has been so far in his career. But I don't think that Caleb Williams will be the star that people expect him to be. Unlike what Jaden Daniels is turning out to be over in Washington. I don't think Caleb Williams is the same guy. I think Jaden Williams was the number 1 quarterback in this draft. And the Bears, And so the Bears got stuck with him. Now, to your point, they surrounded him by a lot of talent, but if he doesn't have the talent himself to get the ball to guys like Keenan Allen and DJ Smith, DJ Smith, DJ Moore, that came over in the trade for the pick that would eventually draft Bryce Young. Outside of like little screenplays to DJ Moore, if they get it, Caleb Williams got to get the ball to those guys. DeAndre Swift had a really big run in last week's game. Beyond that, hasn't done much with Chicago in their 4 games. I don't understand how they're 2-2. I don't understand how they beat the LA Rams last week.
Rams are hurt.
But they did. Yeah.
They're hurt.
So yeah, though the Rams are very beat up without Nakua and without Cooper Kupp. So nevertheless, having said all that, I'm with you. I don't know if they win by 6, but I think the Panthers are able to pull this game out this weekend. I think that game against a Cincinnati Bengals team, who most people pick to be at least a playoff team this year, despite starting off 0-3, they're only 10 points worse than them. Like, this is not the same Panthers that got blown out in week 1, that couldn't move the ball in week 2. This is a better Panthers team. And I think there's a reason why Dave Canales wanted to make the move to Andy Dalton, and it seems to be working out. So give me the Panthers to upset the Bears this weekend on the road. 1:00 Fox kickoff. Make sure you go and watch it. Shannon, we're over time, so let's go ahead and get through the ending here. If you want to find Shannon over on social media, he is on X and Instagram at podcast_Smitty, that you can see on the bottom of the screen if you're watching it on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Also, you can find me on social media on X at Tapouts and TDs, Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns, and on Instagram at Ryan Frick Comedy. And again, I mentioned this last week on the show. We were able to get our socials back, and I was posting during the games on Sunday. Maybe it's not as much as I should have, but we'll be getting better and better about that every week. Facebook.com/The Cat Cave FFSN, Instagram and X at The Cat Cave _FFSN. But until next week, you may now exit the Cat Cave, but make sure you listen to more content on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel and more Carolina Panthers themed podcasts on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. For Shannon Smith, I'm Ryan Frick, and we'll see you next week right here inside the Cat Cave.
Go